everybody. It's Cinnamon Cooney, your Art Sherpa, and I guess I'm on a black screen?
No, I just I pushed the wrong buttons.
What was behind me?
It was you.
Was it just me?
It was just you in the void.
I went to a void. So I am Cinnamon Cooney, your Art Sherpa, and today I'm going to show you step by step how you can paint this kitten in a mitten. I'm saying that enunciating so that the closed captioning doesn't get me again in that weird way it did before. Closed captioning, sometimes it comes back with some strange stuff at things I said. Kitten in a Mitten. This is a vintage inspired piece. I did a bunch of looking back at art of yesteryear, especially over the mid-century modern space, and I just really fell in love with kittens and mittens.
There you are.
I was like, we just need a kitten in a mitten. So today we're going to paint this in acrylic, step by step. This is very beginner friendly. I'm going to explain everything you need to know so that you can paint along with me at home. So wherever you are, whatever you're doing, you can use the materials that I have listed here in the description, or you can use your own. Either is completely fine. I will be explaining what I have listed here because that helps me like stay organized. How are you guys doing? I have a Christmas sweater. Sorry, because look, kitten. I'm just super excited. If you're wondering, that's Torrid. I'm not paid by them any amount of money. They don't know who I am. Just so you are aware. And John's going to make me small so you can really see everything on the canvas. Make you very small. So we're going to break this down step by step. So there'll be steps. And later we timestamp those so you can find them again with your bookmark in the chapter. On top of that, we write a step-by-step mini book that comes out about 7 to 10 days after the live stream. It is the written instructions. It's not a notation. It is the written instructions of what we did in the steps. So if you're a person who has that kind of layered learning, you'll find that to be a very helpful resource. The colors listed in the description, I'm going to go over them again on the palette so you know what they were. This is the dioxazine purple. This is the cad red medium. This is the cad yellow medium. This is the phthalo blue. This is the phthalo green. This is the burnt sienna. This is the Mars black. And this is the titanium white. Sometimes it's hard to like go from that list to see the palette and know what we mean. And you're not expected to know that because you might be brand new first day to painting. How many little brushes do we have today? If you're a little brush, raise your hand. This is going to be a fun one, guys. Now, I'm going to show you how to draw this image in step by step. But if drawing gives you anxiety or you don't enjoy that process, there is a free traceable on the website ready for download right now. So you don't have to worry about that at all. And if you don't know how to do that, I have a video on how to do it. And if you took the beginner course, we even covered it there too somewhat, how to get the image on the canvas. Are you ready for a step, John? I'm ready for a step.
I am ready.
Ready for a step. Step, kitten in a mitten, yay! The first step is the background, most important step. So I'm going to take a big wide brush. This is a bright, and the bright is more than an inch in width, right? So you just want something that's kind of nice and square, and we'll let you paint the canvas in an expeditious manner. I'm going to load up the white onto my brush first. And I'll load up the white first because the blue has such a strong tinting strength. That means it just really changes the color of the white easily. That by getting the white in first, it'll help me get that very light background that I want without too much difficulty. And then because I loaded it loosely mixed, look, I get kind of streaking. Isn't that fun? Now I'm just dipping the edges of my brush bristles, that's this part of the brush, into the water, not the whole brush head. And that's to control the amount of water that's on my brush. I'm using heavy bodied paint. So I might be using a little more water than you if you were using craft paint or bottled paint. You might be using less. Sometimes student paints or economy paints don't need as much water to modify as the professional stuff does. So even as you're watching me and you're trying to follow along at home and copy what I'm doing, it's important to know that your home studio may be a little different than mine. Even in how humid or dry your studio is could be a little different than mine. I'm going at a diagonal. I'm going from the right side down and kind of creating an implied diagonal. And this kind of gives us the sense like maybe there's some weather in the background. I want to cover the canvas in this step. I don't want to paint out all of the interesting streaks though. Not like it's not covering the canvas streaky, but that the paint colors have streaks or stripes or irregularities in them. Just to be clear. All right. Now, I see some Lynn and some Shell. Paulette, I see some Grace Porter and Valerie. And earlier, man, I saw Grumpy Bunny. I want to say thank you for letting me know that I didn't get the link in the text today, Grumpy Bunny, because I did not know that. But I think that everyone will be able to find us. If you got the text and it was missing the link, human error today. Sometimes it's textedly error, but today was human error.
Those mistakes.
Because I'm human and I erred. I wish, like, when we were humans and we erred, we could have the little beach ball of death just spinning around our face so people would know what's happening.
Processing
What is being said or done around me. And then, like, if something just breaks your brain, I wish you could have, like, that little crash symbol. You know, the little Mac face that goes...
Sad Mac.
I don't know what you want or mean. Look at that background. So it's blue. It's the phthalo blue and white. It has a bit of streaking to it. And it just kind of gives you that feeling of an energy sky. I think I got the upper left corner maybe a little lighter than I would like. So I'm going to take a little bit more blue onto my brush before moving on and just add a little bit of blue. So see how I did that there?
I do.
Now, I was able to put this back into this light area because my brush pressure is light. And the paint underneath is wet, so it kind of lets me do that little technique there. If you're wondering, how did you do that? That's how it worked. Sometimes you guys can't see, like, if my paint is wet or my paint is dry, and acrylic behaves very differently when the paint is wet or the paint is dry. Guess what?
What's that?
That was step 1, and we're ready to move on to step 2. But first, you must thoroughly dry your canvas.
Okie dokie. Hello, everybody. Thank you for joining us. It's really nice to see everybody. Don't forget, all the resources are available in the links in the description down below or at theartsherpa.com. Click on the calendar and then today's video. If you're a time traveler, you might find that forward or backward on the calendar, just depending on how you may find yourself. But in either case, best to look backwards in the calendar, and you'll probably find this video. But future videos are also there. Again, this timey-wimey stuff gets complicated. So check the calendar. You'll find a link to our video. In those videos, there's all sorts of materials and things that you can use.
There's materials that I can use.
Resources.
Can I use resources?
They can use resources.
They can use the resources too. I'm checking and
Traceable,
making sure that I have the right
check.
materials listed. I always check my stuff too. So my stuff is like your stuff. I like to make sure that it's the same. Okay, take your deep breath. We're going to put in the back branch. You might have thought we were going to sketch in the kitten at this stage, but I'm actually going to put in our branch first before sketching in the kitten because it's the furthest layered back and because there's some delicate cutout areas and fur on the kitten. By putting this in the background, then it will just pop out beautifully behind the kitten and we don't have to be intense and frustrated and fussy and paint around the kitten. Does not mean you couldn't paint around the kitten.
You could not. That seems a little strong.
Oh, so Jackson says, I'm thinking about doing your painting and making my own YouTube channel, but the problem is I don't have a song like you. First, I'd like to say Jackson can't sing. Jackson has a close account over on TikTok. And I would say you can sing, and you should go for it. You absolutely should go for it. You should do some more art on TikTok to practice and then get ready to hop on over to YouTube. That's my advice. And also sign up for the creator blog. That's the number one thing you can do for yourself as a creator on any platform is look at their free resources.
This is true.
All right.
You're painting too.
I'm painting too. You guys ready?
Yeah, I think
I'm going to come from this upper left corner, and I'm going to kind of bring a trajectory over here towards the right, but with a curve. And then I'm going to also have a little branch that comes down this way. Now, interestingly enough, and I'm going to give myself just a little bit of I'll do blue. Just as a guide so you can see where I'm going and why I'm making that decision. So here's a little branch that comes down, and here's a little branch that comes down. Right? And then it's going to curve over this way, and that will hold them. Maybe I want to curve it even up a little more above the halfway line. None of this will mess with the actual branch because I've got a mitten in front of it and everything, and I can even erase a little bit like that. So this is where the needles are going to be oriented from in that type of a curve. And how that's going to work is I'm going to take a cat's tongue brush. You could use a filbert or a round. This is a cat's tongue. And I'm going to take a little bit of my green and brown, my phthalo green and my burnt sienna. And I'm going to come here to the end. And the reason that I go backwards up the branch is the pine needles layer like scales. We kind of did that with the red Christmas tree, right? So let's come here, and I'm going to come on the toe of the brush and make little flicking brush strokes out. Look at these little flickers. Licking little brush strokes of darkness. And these are kind of the pine needles that are more in shadow. If I press lighter on my brush, the lines become finer, and if I press harder, they become thicker and more full. Just a little principle of using your brush. Just doing little flicks, layering back. Can you guys see that? It's like coming up my little stem. Now, some of this is going to be behind the mitten and the kitten. But as you paint things, what you'll find is, depending on if you size a little different or you position a little different, maybe a different part of your pine needle will stick out from mine, because you're not a copy machine. You're not a Xerox. You're a person. And because you are a person, you might have little variances in your painting. So over the years on YouTube, I realized this method gives you guys a better chance of having those little variances and still getting a great result. That's why I do that. And we're going to talk about what you might have to do if you're painting economy paints, right, versus painting professional paints for the red mitten when we get there. So don't worry about that. I'm going to talk to you about some strategies. There we go. You can see it's sort of a radial out to get this pine branch effect. I'm checking on the chat to see how everyone's doing. Oh my goodness.
They're really nice.
Shannon Selena says, I'm missing something. No video yet. There is video. Perhaps you need to refresh.
Oh man, that's a bummer.
That is a bummer. That happens though. Sometimes you need a refresh. Sometimes there's just tech issues between the browser and YouTube. That'd be like what you search up stuff.
Because if they can't see us,
yeah,
they can't hear us.
Oh, well then never mind. They can see the chat though.
Can
everyone else see and hear us?
Well, of course they can. Otherwise, they wouldn't be chatting, saying hello.
So there we go. Look at that. Look at that. This is fantastic. Okay. So it looks a little sad at this stage.
No, it looks like a shadow spruce.
A shadow spruce. But we've got to do another layer to reveal the spruce. So let's come back and I'll show you what the next layer is. You don't need to dry.
No, don't need to dry? Okay.
Don't need to dry.
Well, then we don't need to go anywhere because this is actually step 3.
I like to break this up so you understand how these layers. So if you're doing something later, you know how to do it for yourself. If you were like just painting your own thing. Now I've got my little mix of my burnt sienna, right, and my phthalo green, and I'm going to add some of my cad yellow into that. Right, a little more brown to keep it in those kind of pine foresty colors, and a little bit of white.
Pine forest indeed.
And I'm going to come through and make a couple values all the way up the pine branch. Similar strokes. Maybe these are a little bit lighter or finer, but it's kind of the same sort of idea. Don't have to worry about too much here because I know the mitten's going to be over it. It's a good place to practice. You want to worry about here, and you want to worry about here where the mitten is really not covering the branch. Sometimes I take a little white into that. And then we'll do a very light value. Little light value. How you guys doing?
pretty fantastic. There's lots of kitten in the mitten lovers out here.
I think you guys are going to be so pleased with your result. I do.
Kim wants to know if anyone can see her.
I guess we can. Because we said hi.
You're invisible, Kim.
Oh my goodness. You know what I am? Also, I want to say, thank you. I want to say thank you to Heather C. for your fabulous sticker, and also point out that I was super behind on chat.
Oh, yes. Probably.
Rebecca Hoffman, I was just wondering, are you going to paint any angel for Christmas this year?
So, in general, what I'd say is that anything that approaches a religious
No, John. No, wrong answer.
No? Okay. I'm not going to answer this thing, because every time I think so, I have an answer.
You don't know what I'm painting this year.
I don't have any
We do angels on the show. We've done angels, and
Yeah,
we do angels. We do anything. We do. So during the holidays, I do try to acknowledge people's celebration and holiday celebration.
There we go.
And we do that. I don't know if I have an angel. I have one potential angel coming up this year, but it may also be a different one. I've got two that I'm kind of playing across, and whichever one comes out better will probably be it. But yeah, the vintage stuff really inspires me.
But they're not necessarily religious angels. They're just like pretty angels.
Pretty. Well, I don't try here. What I try to do is acknowledge that we all have holidays and we all have faith and we all have that stuff, but not really impose anything that I personally might believe on you.
Right, because everybody has different view of them. And what's kind of interesting is lots of people have angel versions in their beliefs, so it's cool.
John's like, I'll go with it. What are we saying? I'm here.
No, I mean, just honestly.
I am. Let me. So I am adding a lot more yellow to the green mix. So I've got the green and the brown, but I've added a lot more yellow now. I'm adding a lot of white, and I'm creating a little line of very delicate strokes. If you guys can see this, and the flick on the brush is very light and goes across here.
She's like, anything just to move on.
Sometimes. I love you.
See, the best thing about being a co-host is I can totally step in it and say, oops. Didn't mean to go down a path we weren't trying to. Just trying to make conversation with my wife while she's painting.
No, you're doing really good. We have crazy conversations, many of which would not be appropriate for you two.
Again, Gen X.
I acknowledge that. I acknowledge that I'm filtered here. All right, look at that. So that looks really lovely now. Now we've got this beautiful sort of little pine branch that's coming. If you feel you went too yellow, all you have to do is come back with just pure phthalo green. Look. And you can bring that back. So there's no place that you can't, especially with acrylic, that you can't get yourself out of if you need to, okay?
So Jenna would like to know.
Hi, Jenna.
The cat's tongue, would that also work for palm fronds?
Yes.
And
cat's tongue works for everything. For as long as they're available, they work for everything.
Kim thinks that the vintage feel is awesome because it makes her feel like a kid.
That's what it was for me, too. I personally grew up a Jehovah's Witness. I'm not currently, but that's how I grew up. And so we did not have holidays, but my friends all did. And so I would go over there and see them at their grandparents' house, because where we lived is really kind of a grandparent neighborhood, and they would visit. And their trees were all mid-century modern. So that's sort of the architecture of my sense of things. Mm-hmm. And so therefore also feels very groovalicious and comforting to me. I'm going to dry this, and then we're going to move on to the next step.
All right. So, now that I have placed my foot in my mouth, apparently, and just chewed on it for a little while, you can check out our website to find all of the interesting things that we do all the time. theartsherpa.com. And there's also the description, told you about that. Should sign up. We send out texts. Have I got a text button? I think I've got a text button. Let me see if I can find it. No. I don't have a text button. Oh, maybe I do. Ha ha! There it is. Psh, psh, psh.
They'd have to guess the number. You're asking them to be psychic.
I would never say that you're in the way, but since you brought it up.
So I'd like to, if you're just coming in now, we are at a weird stage of the painting. Hang in with us. Stay for a minute, because this little section here is actually going to be covered, which is why we didn't pay a lot of attention. But what we're looking to create is a nice sort of delicate little branch area here and a fun little branch area here. So when we come in to put in our kitten, it feels like he is or she is strapped to a branch, or they are strapped to a branch. So, I don't know. I don't know this kitten personally. I would say, oh, who's Gen X? Tim Miner says, I'm Gen X too. It's a burden, isn't it? They keep saying care, and we keep saying, I'm trying real hard. And she wore me out by 18. No Wolverines. Okay, so, hi, how are you guys doing?
Would you like
I teach art over here. It's fun. Come, stay a minute. You're good. You're good. You came to the right place. Okay. For this next part to work, it really needs to be dry so that I can use this chalk. Now, I'm using a Taylor chalk tool. If you're like, what is that awesome tool? It's a Taylor's chalk tool. And it lets me draw with chalk. And I like to use chalk with acrylic because it removes with water. Now, if my paint is wet or my paint is warm, the chalk can actually stick in the paint like anything else might. So it's very important to make sure that things are dry. Let's talk about drawing in our kitten. So here at the top part of the branch, I'm going to make a little circle. The circle is a bit of an oval. It's a little bit of a squish circle. And it kind of positions between these two branches right here. Little squish circle. And he'll get bigger. He'll have, or she'll have, I don't know. The cat will have more fur on it. And then I should write up background stories for these characters. So I know what I'm talking about. So I've got this nice little squished circle. Right now on the squish circle, I'm going to make a center line, and that center line curves a bit. And what that's going to do is let me know where to put my nose and my eyes and my ears. It just helps me later. And I'll have to put that back again a little later, but this will help me. So if I'm going to come over here, I'm going to have an ear here and an ear there, kind of generally. I'll know that. When I set the eyes, it'll be easier because the ears will start at the corner edge of the eye. Whatever cartoon you do, that's kind of where I'm setting that ear. Now I'm going to say coming off here is going to be a little paw that comes down. It's like a little, oh gosh, it's a little drippy circle that comes down. Coming off here, I'm going to make another little drippy circle. I may adjust that as I put in my mitten. My mitten is going to come down about 3 fingers from the bottom. Bottom is about the size of the mitten. It has to feel like it could hold the kitten. I feel like I'm in a Dr. Seuss book here. And I'm going to bring the mitten down, kind of curving it around. A little bit of curve on this line towards the right. The great thing about a mitten is they're kind of a crazy shape. So you're not going to get your mitten wrong, are you? No, you're not. You'll probably be critical of your mitten, so I say don't. Accept your mitten. Your mitten loves you as is. Bring a little thumb down here. The thumb should be like half of the mitten, but not more than half of the mitten. Because then it's going to look like a custom mitten for somebody that needed a custom mitten. 5-fingered man.
So
I'm going to taper that down here. See, you see how I can kind of erase the chalk? So the mitten kind of comes to a blunted edge and tapers down here.
Not the 6-fingered man's.
Not the 6-fingered man. Coming off the side of the kitten is a really cool thing. I'm going to bring a little bisecting line up. It's tapered down towards the kitten's neck, comes to a point, and then widens out, and we'll go over this again even as we paint it. And then I'm going to bring a loop down in here, and that's going to do one side of the bow. Same thing over here. Angled line. Ribbon going off. Super fun to do. And then I can angle the bow back in here. So that's how we got that wonderful, fun bow. And it is a good idea to kind of think about where the ribbon is here. So when you put the kitten in, you go there. Now, can they see any of this?
They can see it.
Okay. All right. So as long as you guys can see this,
Can't
and
really
again,
see it
at this
here,
stage, if
but
you had the
can see it from
traceable,
here.
this is when you would put that on.
You can see it's very hard to see, but you can see it from here, but not so much from here. See, there you can see it. When you tilt it this way, you can see it because it's got an angle. And,
would it help you guys? I can just kind of do this all in white in a real quick sketch so you can kind of see all the lines that I put in. Okay. I don't want you guys to be struggling at all here. I'm going to just kind of let you know what I did, because I can fix it even if I got off a little, but that way you saw kind of what am I thinking? This is what is being thought about. sometimes if you can see it in paint.
So I'm going to ask a
That
question.
little extra step makes a difference, doesn't it? Now you can see it.
So when's our next show?
Tomorrow at 1, and it is vintage ornaments. It's based off a really old design that showed up in the public domain for me to get inspired by, so I kind of rethought it, but...
Which one is this one?
That's vintage ornaments.
Oh, right. Oh, yeah, that one's really good. All right, so Tim was just requesting, he was like, we very much would like to have a Discord channel.
Guess what?
What?
If he's requesting, we would very much like to have a Discord channel. Guess what?
What?
We have a Discord channel.
I know.
Oh.
But I haven't told him yet.
I just did.
I know. I was going to say that we were going to make a big announcement tomorrow after the show.
This is why we can't have nice things. So baby,
Wait,
I love
it's
you.
free?
The Discord?
Yeah, of course it's free. Discord is free app.
Yeah,
So,
it's a free app. If you want to, if you guys are already on it, it's there. If you guys want to join it, it's free. Let's go on to the next step, and you can tell them why the Discord channel would be something they might want. If you want it, you don't have to get it. You won't miss out on anything.
So, it's a step.
5. Is that not the cutest?
So I tell you what, those who know what Discord is,
Mm-hmm.
we're going to open it up here in the next before tomorrow's show. But after the show tomorrow, we'll explain what Discord is and kind of help everybody understand how to get on it.
Yeah.
If they're interested.
If you're interested.
That's right.
But you don't have to be. It's just cool.
It's just another thing.
We just like this chat. We thought maybe you guys want to, just keep chatting and not be on Facebook.
Right.
As some feedback we have been getting. And some people are feeling a little frustrated with the book of face, now meta. I'm going to paint this mitten now. And the thing I want to say to you is if you have economy paint, right? And I may just go ahead and do it and just show you so you guys painting along with me know to do it. I'm going to put a little glaze of white here. And the reason I'm going to do this is if you're painting a budget paint, one of the ways that they save themselves some money on that is to lower your pigment loads. With my golden, I can kind of like push through and just do what I want to do. Send the LEA, push through, do what I want to do. With some of your paints, you can't. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to just do a light glaze of like some white here to kind of knock back the colors and things that are underneath. And that way, if you're painting along at home and you're having some trouble with coverage, this is a thing that you could do to help yourself. So see how I've kind of knocked back the green in those things? If you're having trouble with your white, which is probably your most opaque color in your set, you may want to think about a different set. Like I'm painting this as a glaze, but if you're going thick and it's not covering, that would be an issue to think about. Okay. So that's just a glaze. I was doing a really thin coat of paint and still covering that much. So I'm going to dry this. We're not going to go into another step. I'm just dry it so that you guys can see how to get it. That way you don't have that problem at home.
Okay. So another layer. I think that this will not be as long, but painting the white underneath really does make it much, much better, especially in these vintage paintings so you can get that pop, 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 pop. Okay. So, okay. Now you done?
I'm testing it. It feels good. Okay. Now, if you're having trouble, go ahead and do your ribbon too. I'm not going to worry about it because I won't have trouble, but now you understand the fix, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's the important thing is you understand how you can fix it. I'm going to take the Oxazine purple and my Cad red together. And I'm going to make a burgundy. Mm-hmm. Very burgundy. And I'm going to paint my mitten this color. And I might come on the edge here and I kind of flick my brush so that the edge of the filaments kind of come off and make a little bit of a fuzz. See the fuzz?
Mm-hmm.
I'm fuzzing it. It's not purple, it's burgundy. I'm flicking the end here. There's a fuzzy mitten. And painting the interior solid. We can do it. I'm in loading my brush. Doesn't have to be perfect burgundy. Now I'm not going to worry about fuzzing here because the white fur is going to be coming over the mitten. That's the reason we're painting the mitten at this stage, is the layering of objects in the painting, the way they relate to each other. Sometimes lets us know what order we need to paint them in. This is the burgundy layer. Look at that. There we go. So it's a little bit kind of fuzzy looking.
Mm-hmm.
Like the grape ape. Now I'm going to come over here and paint my red ribbon with that same burgundy color. You'll be able to see what it looks like in coverage. If you're having any trouble with your coverage, again, paint the ribbon white. But you can see with my paint, I don't. Just paint that shape in. You can do this. You've got this.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I work pretty fast online when I'm teaching.
Yep.
You may be painting at a different speed. And if you didn't know this, you can pause me even during a live. The chat will progress like normal. You won't get behind on the chat, but that way you control the speed of which I'm painting. And I know many of you guys love to paint along step by step, fully live, but that can be really challenging. So that's a fix. I see Mike Cookie. Cook, my cook. Not Cookie. You're not a cookie.
Could be.
Could be.
Could, like, I don't think so, but I mean, like, could be. Emphasis could be on the E.
I think I just, wanted a cookie.
I think.
Then I hallucinated that it was a cookie.
It was a Cookie Monster slip. Cookie. Cookie.
Get into that burgundy. Curving that brush stroke along the flow of the ribbon. Sometimes brush directionality, even on a layer like this, can help inform the shape of upcoming layers. So it's a good practice to get into. And I'm going to come here underneath what will be the kitten's chin. And I'm going to taper this in. There's just a little bit of the ribbon. Let's just say that this ribbon is tied completely safely, and we know that's true. No harm will ever come to the kitten in our art world. That's a weird thing I thought about too. Like at the time I was like, is this ribbon tied safely? And then I just decided it is tied safely. Now for the next layer to work, I do like this to be dry so we can use our scruffy brush to kind of create that fuzzy layer of brighter and brighter reds. So go ahead and give this a dry.
Mm-hmm.
dry it.
Right. It shouldn't take too long, just a couple little, and then that makes sure that as you go through, you don't pick up and muddy the next layer with this current layer, and everything will kind of layer as it is supposed to. Again, don't use heat because heat can make your acrylic sticky and make it do all sorts of weird color shift things. But for now,
Step.
next
Step.
Next step.
Step 6. We're going to love this one. So we're going to use the value. That's the darkness and lightness of the color. So this is in this particular case, the darkness, to make sure that we leave kind of a delineation between the thumb and the mitten. So this is a fun practice area. And then also we're going to start creating shapes and values on the ribbons, but not with the dry brush, because not necessarily. I'm going to get my dry brush barely wet. And then I'm going to wipe off with a towel so it's sort of damp, right? This is one that I know you guys have written me and said, hey, I'm kind of working on this dry brushing thing, and, where is my dry brush? And the thing is you've got to get in there and practice till you find it. Scratch paper or scratch canvas is great. I'm going to add a little more red into my Ox red mix, and it's going to be a lot brighter, but not the brightest red. And I'm going to come here where the thumb and the mitten are going to meet and just kind of make sure that I'm thinking about keeping that dark area. I'm going to dry brush, light pressure, short strokes with curves that imply the shape of the mitten. So you see how they're curving kind of to the left?
Yes.
And over right, and then we come back going the opposing way to create that sense of fur.
I do.
And that's how we're creating that first fuzzy.
I see it.
A lot more red into the Ox red mix. Now coming here on the thumb, I'm going to be a little more on the edge of this brush, and I'm going to kind of curve. Same thing I did on the big part of the mitten, but in smaller, more controlled strokes. And you'll notice I'll leave a little dark area between the thumb of the mitten and the main body of the mitten. I'm going to rinse that brush out and put it to the side, and go ahead and pick up my 1/2-inch angle brush for a moment, because that's going to give me a little more control. I'm going to get a little of my brighter red, but it still has a little bit of Ox in it. It gives me a couple values of red that I can still mix up to brighten to, which is a very powerful thing. I'm going to come across the top of this ribbon here and brush this down on the edge where the ribbon has little edges. And I'm going to blend this into that dark purple. Come along the edge here. Where I want the two reds and purples to join, I'm going to make kind of a little halftone and brush stroke back into the ribbon. Can you guys see that?
Mm-hmm.
That's the first foundation, and you can already see that ribbon has started to have a little bow. Maybe I'll come here this time and kind of brush back up into the ribbon, since I already have that dark purple sort of worked out. Get back into my brighter red with a little bit of Ox. It's brighter than burgundy, but it's not the cad red bright. On the edge of the brush. And then maybe a little bit there on the edge, and then brush this down. Notice I'm also brushing in the direction of the bow to help kind of inform its shape. And then brushing down, 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 down. Leaving a sort of little shadow where it gathers up. go back into this darker one and kind of also pull that out a bit so we have something to blend into. The brighter red with a little bit of purple. Look at this here. Isn't this fun? All right, and we're going to also come into our ribbon here, kind of brush down a little bit. This brighter red color. Darker purple coming back because it's in the shadow and it's gathered. And don't stress too much because remember you guys are going to be having a lot of fur going around it. So you can tuck things back and you'll be okay there. All right. Let's go from this to the next layer on the step. I just want to break this down into these layers so you guys understand sequentially what layers you have to put here for the ribbon to look bent and for the mitten to look bright and fluffy. So let's give us a new step.
A new step?
New step.
Okay.
That's right, Twix. New step. Hi, Ambient Landscapes. All right. I've got to meet a whole bunch of new people in the beginner acrylic painting course. There's so many new names I know. All right. We're going to come in here and we're going to go brighter red. Pure Cad red almost this time. It's okay if a little of the Dogs purple gets into it. But now we're going to be Pure Cad red. Hog Bristle Bright. This particular one is a number 18 Raphael, but you could do a number 10. The numbers, remember, guys, are kind of crazy from brush company to brush company. But this is just under an inch wide, and it's a bright, and it's hog bristles. Made of that. I'm going to come here and come on the edge of my brush and flick down. I don't want to paint out all the darker values I have underneath. Very light pressure through here. I'm barely touching the canvas. I'm going to come around and curl back. I'm leaving lots of open spots for the three values to show against each other. So this bright value, the middle value, and the dark value. I'm going to come here in bigger strokes on the wide of the brush, but still curving, still short like it's fur and fuzzy. It's not really fur as much as fuzzy, something knitted and fuzzy. Grumpy Bunny says it's a beautiful ribbon, and oh, hi, Susie, and Monowheat. It's Twix. Yeah, Twix has been a lot lately. Twix has been really like, whenever there's a lot of mail, Twix is like about it. She's like, the doorbell. She knows the doorbell means when, because we have one of those, what are they called, rings?
We have rings. Many rings.
Many rings. But she knows the ring noise, so she knows that means it's the mail person.
Country
She's such a
living.
smart dog.
There's only a couple reasons why it goes off.
I would say the word, which is CAT, but sometimes if I say that word, then she goes off.
Or when we talk about the rabbits.
Don't say it. She's sleeping. And she's being quiet, and we want her to stay that way. All right. So you can see we've got this brighter layer, but all three layers are kind of showing through, and that gives that depth, doesn't it? Let's rinse this out. Get my 1/2 inch angle again, and I'm going to come at the top. Now on this, I kind of let the brush sort of lighten and skip when it comes down into that mid-range because we want the three values there too.
Huh.
I can always like kind of come back and be like, oh, let's make sure we're blending. And giving it that curve. That's what we're implying. You can see I'm curving the stroke with the directionality of the ribbon, and that does help. Even if I come across, I still try to pull it down. I might give a little bright edge here. got off track. You can see that's really bowing now. It's very bright.
Yeah.
On the edge of my brush where I need to have control, and then I go into the wide where I want to paint larger areas. That's brush control. And that's an important skill to develop, but you've got time to develop it. You don't have to be perfect day one. That's not a requirement of you. A little brighter on the red here. Oh, too much paint. That was a bad load, guys.
Yeah.
Sometimes you overload the brush. Creating that brightness. Pop them ribbons. Bend the bow. And sometimes I'll even come back. Oh, it's not just popping today.
Oh, yeah.
Sometimes you might come back if this is dry and just come back with just pure CAD. And a few places, look. Just the pops. It's strange how it layers up. Now, this is easier if you have real cadmium pigment, but I totally understand not wanting to paint with it, like why some people might not want to. And you can use Pyro Red for a similar effect because it's really Ferrari red, which as we know is very, very bright. But I'm not taking out everything I painted in here. Right? And it's still dry brushing. So it stays still very, very fuzzy. Oh, this is really nice. I like that. Rinse this brush out very, very well. I think it's a good time to get some fresh, clean water if you have not. Let's dry our canvas so that we're working on a steady, solid space. All right.
Okay.
And breathe. Relax your neck and back. Make sure that you're in good position, that you haven't held yourself in tension. It's easy to hold your breath when you're painting, especially if you're new at it. So it's just one of those habits we get into. So be mindful and go, oh, not right now. I don't want to hold my breath right now. All right. Now I'm going to dry this.
Okay.
And come back. Next layer. New step, though.
Okay.
Okay.
So we're going to see. Yeah. This little fuzzy mitten come in. I was distracted because there's a whole lot of chat going on about Discord, making it work. So, if you want to know more about Discord, tomorrow after the show, we'll have some information on how to join, how to do all that kind of stuff. So, we'll help you out there. And, yeah, that's it. Okie Stepping?
Step in. Step in. Step 8. All right. We're going to paint the underpainting of the kitten in. I am going to use my cat's tongue. You could use a filbert or a round. I'm doing this because I want just a little bit more control. I'm going to pull out some black, kind of get a small amount into my brush, and start to mix just a little bit of the black over to my white to get kind of a light gray. All right, just a little bit of a light gray. You can, for fun, add a smidge of the phthalo blue into that to kind of cool that kind of color. And then I'm going to come here, and where there is a bit of paw coming down, I'm going to bring a little flicking stroke around. Curving the brush strokes kind of the opposite way on the opposite side. If you've lost your paw or any of your preliminary sketching or drawing, you can go back with chalk before you apply paint. Feel like that's something that you can do. I'm going to come under my ribbon pretty snugly. Coming off the end here, I'll go ahead and let those bristles sort of flick out and make hair. Can you guys see that? And then also curving down. So the mitten really prepared us for the paws.
All right.
Come here and kind of think about the kitten face a bit. Too dark. What you see me doing there is just making sure I have control over the darkness, the lightness of the paint that I'm using. Because I'm not painting a gray kitten, I'm painting a white kitten.
Ah.
I do need to have value though, so the white fur looks white. Now at first, I'm just going to be very tight and round on the head. And then once I kind of get that in, I may come here and flick out just a little bit of edges. Let me get a little bit of control here. I'm going to turn this up a little bit of control. Right? Kind of starting that fur. Just a little bit on the side because we don't want it too buttoned up. He's so furry. He's going to be a lot more forgiving than you might think. You know? So I'm going to also make sure my brush isn't too wet. A little bit of rough, raw edges. And that will just make it easier as we come in with lighter and lighter paint. But to go any further on the kitten, we have to set the positioning of the face. So let's dry this and come back and I'll show you how to do that.
Okey-doke. Just give it a quick dry. And then we can come back in and do that. You just want to make sure that you have it thoroughly dry so that the light and the dark don't mix in there and make a muddy middle tone. There you go.
There we go. Now I am going to need to do this in chalk, but I'll do everything I can in paint so that you can see. Well, I guess I could do it with white. Let me see if I can do it with white paint. I'm going to use a round brush. This is just to get some positioning. Right, let's get a little white paint on here. Since it's gray, you should be able to see it. You use chalk. I'm going to set the line kind of slightly off center, a little bit curved. This line lets me know what's happening on the left and what's happening on the right. Okay.
Is this a new step?
Oh, goodness gracious. Yeah, John, new step. Sorry. New step.
You're just cooking.
Cooking. Set the line. Okay, so we're going to set this line for step 9. Set the line for step 9. Okay, so it's a little kind of curved in. I taught my youngest how to do this, and she's like the most genius of faces now. So I'm going to say that I want my eyes to be right here, and I'm going to curve this line a little bit. All right, so I know where those eyes are going to be. Okay, when I know where the eyes are going to be and I know where the nose is going to be, and the nose is set directly between the eyes. I forgot to put out quinacridone.
Did you?
It was in the materials list, though,
Ooh.
so it's okay, and you guys are okay. And honestly, I wouldn't have needed it to know, so it would have gone really wasted. Sometimes it's good to put out paint later. I had to put it out in the beginning because I'm teaching a class, but you guys should honestly put out paint when you need it. I'm going to go ahead and give myself just a little bit of a cad red and quinacridone. I'm going to come right here where these two intersect. And I'm going to paint a small curve line, smaller than like a pinky nail. And I'm going to curve a little one in and a little one in. That's that. Now the rest I'm going to do in black paint, but you guys do in chalk, because if you make a mistake in black paint, it will stress you out. So here's the tip. If you've done any drawing, and you may not know this yet because you may be so new, but if you've been doing a little bit of art, you might already know. You'll have an eye that you do better, a right eye or a left eye, right? So if you already know what eye you have an easier time with, you're going to do the other eye first.
Oh, I understand.
You do the hard eye first every time. You do the hard side first. So if your hard side is your left, we're going to do the left first. I'm going to line up to the nose, and I'm going to curve up above my little line. You do chalk and then do paint. Now I've got that. I can easily come here and match up. If you will start with your hard side first, your faces will start to become much more symmetrical. All faces. I'm going to go ahead and just give myself a little bit of a guiding round. This is a very light line, even with my black paint. And then I will try to match that up as much as I can over here. Look at that. Coming down from the nose a little bit. And then where I'm going to have, like, here is the center is going to be the eye. A curving smile. Left side first, so that I can do the right side. Because the left side is my weaker side. You guys kind of get a sense of how that's done. Again, traceable is there. You can use it. The other thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to, while I'm here, I'm going to take a little bit of my pink and white. I'm going to have my round brush be a little bit dry, because what I know is if my eye thing is here, my ear is going to come up lined up kind of within relationship to that eye on the outer edge. So I'm going to add some little pink fur that comes up about an inch, half inch from the top of the head. I can layer white fur over it, but it's just easier to get the pink fur in now. Whereas this here, so I can come here. Your ears get big, you just have a Maine Coon. And while we're at it, I'm going to take a little of my blue paint, small amount of my white paint, mostly my blue paint. Kind of match it over here. Best I can. You don't have to be perfect. But if you start with your weak side and then go to your strong side, you'll always have better outcome. Oh. And since the pink is also a little bit transparent, I'm going to go ahead and grab my magenta and kind of paint in my mouth just a little bit now. It's just my magenta. Let's dry this and we'll go on to the next step. How are you guys doing? Do you love this? How are you guys feeling? I'm loving it. Let's do this.
All right.
awkward stage for kitten, but will be so gorgeous when done.
Okay. So this is it is kind of an awkward. This is the inner kitty who is like, hello. I don't know. I find that more amusing for myself. That when you sort of take a step back and look at this mischievous kitten in the mitten, right? Anyway, so there she is.
Here I am. How's it going?
Good.
Breathing in good. Breathing out. New step, baby.
Yeah, I think we are ready for another step. Are you
Another
ready?
step. I think it's time. I think it's totally time. All right. Now that I have this, I'm going to start with my cat's tongue, and I'm going to come into my white. And I'm going to just try to get some more white loaded on here. It's okay if a little gray gets picked up in it, but I'm definitely going to want to have it be some white. And I'm going to come to where my ear is, making little upward strokes, flicking out to create the tip of the ear. See how we're flicking those little strokes and it makes a little tip of the ear? Tip of the ear. We'll see, it got a little big there. I'm back with my finger. See, he went Maine Coon. I said something and he went fully Maine Coon. Now, since he's going to get fluffier and fluffier, that's why sometimes I start these a little small. So I have room for the fur to grow. Little strategy I have. But now we've got a little peeking out of white, and that's wonderful. I'm going to come to the top of the head and flick out this brush. And the way it flicks out, it kind of makes hair. And come here to the outside edge. I'm even curving the little stroke a little bit. Can you see? So there's a little motion in the fur. Just making a fuzzy kitten. I'm going to come over this paw. Light, pressure, dry brush. Needs to be even drier than what I have right now. For me, might need to be less dry for where you are. I'm just describing what I'm doing and how I'm solving it. And you can see that I curve this irregular stroke to the direction of the fur. And I can come over on the toe of my brush and even piece in with maybe pure white a little bit. There we're piecing in and making little pieced out furs. Fur is a very meditative thing to paint. Look at that, little furry paw. A little bit curved there, and then I might come over from the right hand side and kind of curve the opposite ways. Little dry brush. You can switch to, if you're having lots of trouble, you can switch to your hog. I can dry brush with almost any brush, but I've messed with them for a while in my paint, and I know it really well. When you know your art materials really well, a lot of things become easier. Very little paw there. Come kind of over and curve. A little bit of fur out. And then, as you might imagine, a little bit of fur layered over the red. See how we are? I'm going to rinse this brush out and put it to the side and switch to my round. And I'm switching to my round because I'm going to have a little more control over it. The first thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to take a little bit of my blue and white and gray and kind of make a little bit of a baseline for some shadowing that I can work on. I don't want it to be too blue or gray. I just want it to be kind of like my white cat fur shadow. And I'm going to come above the nose. And layer this in. Because I've got to shade this to kind of divvy in the front of the face. So I'm still letting my round brush flick out, and when those hairs on your brush kind of open, they start to imply fur. I have a lot of videos on fur, how to get better at fur, how to get control of fur. Because it's definitely one of those art skills we work on early. Two-hood skill, but it's a skill. I'm going to come under this right now. I don't want to get into the little individual hairs over the smiling mouth yet. That'll be a little bit later when I have the white. Right now I'm just making sure that my kitten is painted with a lush amount of fur. So it's cute.
It's very cute.
Keep it cute. Going over the cheeks, right? The cheeks are going to have fur that comes out from the cheek and down. So it's also paying attention to the radial and the direction of the radial. Weirdly, I'm going to take another bit of my pink. Make sure the inside of my mouth has a nice magenta. I'm also going to take another little bit of my pink and white. Make sure my nose is good. I'm going to come in my eye on the toe with blue. And I do kind of circular the strokes here just so that you kind of see them. Okay. Let's call that a step, right? Because that was a lot to do. And then we're going to come in and start putting some finishing touches on. The fur.
The fur?
The fur.
All right.
All right.
Okay, that was a step.
Step. Did you get the step?
I did.
Okay.
Step.
So, a couple things I'm going to do. First, I'm going to get a little bit of my not perfectly white, like maybe our blue and white. Paint on my round brush. And I think I definitely still want some kind of little square ribbon checks that come across. I like those, and so I'm going to keep those. Might make them a little smaller this time, just for balance. Painting them in early, because I'll want a couple layers. That's what I'm going to want. That looks pretty good. Now I'm going to get my white on my round brush. And I'm going to come above the eye and brush out a nice layer of white. And come up above this eye, curve one out here too. See how I'm doing?
I do.
Definitely want that. Just want to have some control over that. I'm going to add a little bit of white fur. I've just got my round brush. You could use your braid with the hog if you're having any trouble here.
Now, Where do I go to get a list of the beginner paintings?
So if you're really new and you're like, this is cool and I'd like to learn how to paint, but I have a lot to learn because I haven't done this in a minute, or you just want to catch back up, or you just want to know some cool stuff about acrylic, I have a beginner acrylic painting course. And it's the 10 first paintings you should do, plus 7 videos about all the stuff that every beginner should know about art when they start painting, just to take about a year and a half, 2 years off of your art journey of frustration. It just takes 2 years off your frustration, because it'll tell you like the basic techniques that you need to know and the basic core fundamentals of color mixing that you need to know, and just kind of all that stuff, plus your 10 first paintings. Mm-hmm. Also, anything that's labeled one hoot is a beginner painting. And then I've got playlists and my website. There's 1,800 videos. So we have layers. Let me continue to layer white on here. Now, I don't want to lose my kind of dark first. I'm going to come back with a little bit of that because I want there to be a bit of a kind of shadow, but not too dark. It can't be too dark. It's got to be pretty light. Come on top of my nose here with a little white. Can you guys see that?
Yes.
And here, just a little bit of shading. And come over to the side. Curve that. See how these long hairs are coming out on the toe of my brush? These wonderful long hairs flowing to the corner of the mouth. Inside the little mouth here. Mm. So we do little short kind of fur strokes, but we still leave a little bit of the hair of the black line so that the smile is maintained on the kitten.
Maintain. The fur just keeps getting more and more.
It's just more and more fur. Now I'm going to come to this side and kind of also go around so that it's just got a nice little shape to it. I'm going to turn my surface so I have better control of what I'm doing. John, you got to move the camera.
Whoops. I see that. I looked over to the...
I'm going to be doing from the corner now, all the stuff that I did over here. So like if I come over the top and I flick out, we're going to be just making the nice hairs coming off here. Sometimes a different perspective, especially if you can't stand, can help you. Because you got to get away from your art in one way or another.
That was a song.
Was it? Get away from your art in one way or another?
Well, the last part.
I need to just bring a little of that fur here. Now, we've got some pretty great fur on this kitten, don't we? It's a little fluffy little snowball cutie pie. I'm going to come here in just the center of the paws and make sure that that's sort of even developed a little more.
Even.
Yeah. We're almost done, believe it or not. We're winding up.
Oh.
This is that part of the painting. So if you're new to acrylic painting, you might not know this. Your painting is got this underpainting stage where it's like the ugly duckling. And man, it is the last third that it becomes the swan. So you got to believe through most of the painting. Like watercolor is like, I'm beautiful. I'm beautiful. I'm beautiful. I'm all the way beautiful. But acrylic's like, I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. Yeah, it's okay.
I think there was another song about that. Gotta have faith.
Yeah. Yeah. George Michael, let him guide you through this painting.
He was an acrylic painter.
He was an acrylic painter. He really was. I don't actually know that. Now I'm going to come in and add just another layer to my ribbons and come across the mitten. Okay. This is a step. This is where you are in the fur. Do you have your fur? Are your fur fabulous? Are you fur-tastic? How furry are you? For sure.
For sure.
For sure. For sure. Totally. Yeah. Radical. I don't know what's going on.
I don't know.
All right.
But you're going to have to put another step between this step and the last
step. I need a new step because we're going to do the expression now.
Stepped. Okay.
Now on this, I want to use a detail brush. This is a #1 Art Sherpa round, but what you want is just something that is going to give you detail. And I'm going to begin with a little bit of white and my pink, and I'm going to make a very light pink. See this very light pink? I'm going to come inside the mouth, and I'm going to go kind of an M, and then fill that in, and that is the little pink tongue.
Now, there was a question about the cad red on the collar.
Mm-hmm.
Could you have putting it in the kitten in the words? Could you have highlighted that with some brighter cad red?
Yeah, and we will come through and hit some highlights on that when we do this last little bit, but we kind of got to see where the fur is going to go for a minute.
Okay.
Because what I found was it just got away here. So I was like, okay, I'm going to wait till I even see what I have left.
Right.
In the painting.
Don't put the ribbon before the kitten.
Don't put the ribbon before the kitten. Kitten has to be resolved. So we're good. Now we have a nice little coating of pink. Isn't that great? Good pink. Rinse out really, really, really well. I'm also going to come in here, speaking of, and make sure that right here, this is nicely kind of furred. So where it's peaking is just a little bit, right? So it's just peeking out a little bit. I'm going to take some of my white over here, and we're going to get blue and white together and make a very light blue. It's pretty light blue, isn't it?
Seems to be pretty light. I'm no blue expert.
I'm going to come on this side of the eye, and I'm going to curve, leaving a little bit of dark blue on the outer rim, a little bit of kind of a C. And then I'm going to come right here to the left side and also make a little bit of a C. Now go ahead and get a little of the black thinned. So that's where you take a drop or two of water with your round brush and you thin it a bit so it's more fluid. And then I like to spin the brush and then load on the toe. And the first thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to come up above the eye here and make a little lash. And then if I feel, oh man, I did my good eye first. See, I should have done my bad eye first. My left
off eye.
I do the off eye first. I didn't. I did not follow my own advice. So now I got to flip it upside down and then match it up. This is why you always do the off eye first. See, examples of why the things that I say are true.
There you go. You wonky eyed, then you moved it while I
had to move it
away.
To fix the wonky eyes.
All right, I'm going to go back over.
There we go. So that's what the issue is always for everybody. It's just making sure that you've got your symmetry. So I want my off eye first. I'm going to bring a little dot here. It's smaller than a P. And then I'm going to try to make a matching dot right here. I think I'm going to orient this look kind of looking more at the viewer this time. The other one was looking sort of off into the distance, but we'll see if we can't get more to you guys. Now back to let's really make sure all our black is out. Now we're going to go back to our blue and white.
To get that highlight back in there.
Mm-hmm. Don't let any water drops be hiding on your brush. This one is a little bit darker than the initial light one. Curving that around. Curving that around. I'm going to come back, detail brush with my blue. Kind of come over the top. And then also reinforce that blue outer line. Reinforce that blue outer line. A little bit over the top. A little more blue.
Nice.
Get a lot more white into this blue. Thinned. Maybe even a little yellow this time. So it's like deep aqua.
Ooh.
No, very bright. I had a little bit of black there in that brush is what happened, and it dulled my color. So I rinsed out. If ever you see it dull your color like that, you pause and you just reset. Don't continue on, because dull color is tough to come back from. It's better that I put out a little bit of white here on my palette and go at it again with my brush rinsed out in super clean water. See, I'm just starting over, or switch brushes. When you find a problem pulling up into your art practice, you don't have to struggle through it. You're not required. There we go. A little bit of yellow. It's just super bright. You can get a little bit of water in it. Float up on the toe. Let's come here. Look at that. Now we go. Now we've got those vintage little kitten eyes, don't we?
Yeah.
All right. I'm going to take some of this white too while I'm at it. Make a little bit of a small C on the left-hand side. A little bit of a small C on the inner right corner. A little dot right there.
Yeah.
A little dot on the far side of the iris.
Oh,
those are sparkling eyes. They're so happy.
They make them.
A little bit on the nose here. And a couple little dots on the tongue. Now I do feel like a bit of black. We saw me shaking off that little dot, a little drop of water. Just a little bit here at the nose to just say, oh, he's got a little bit of nostrils going on. That's me. You don't have to do it. I just like it. And then I'm going to take a little bit of this black while I'm at it. And kind of shade the little ribbons going through the mitten, like they have a little bit of kind of shadow where they're ribboned, woven in and out. A little bit of anchoring. All right. When we come back, we're going to do the last highlights on the ribbon in the snowflake. You guys ready to finish it up?
I am.
It's cute, isn't it? It's a very cute little holiday painting. I love it. I love it so much. Look at that. It's so cute. It's cute, cute, cute. Step. Now we're going to start at the toe of the mitten, John.
12 and a half.
12 and a half. Oh, because I don't like step 13. I really don't. It's super superstitious. I understand that.
Permanently change it to step 12 and a half.
I get it, because it just unless I know I'm going to go on past that, I suppose I could make it be 14 steps. But I like 12 and a half. Let's do that today.
We'll just do that today.
I'm sorry, I'm weird.
That's
okay. So the first thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to get a little bit of my red, my bright red, on my detail brush. I'm going to come here, and in the center, I'm going to tap between the fur, the little bit of red that's still peeking. A little reflection there. Can you guys see that?
Oh, yeah.
There you go. That's looking pretty good. We're going to let that dry while we do the next part. Get some of your white. And I'm going to make a straight line, a straight-ish. Bring it out.
There you go.
Little dry brush because it's somewhat fuzzy. And I'm going to make little spikies out. Little Spiky's out.
Spikies. Those are the
Crystals.
little delicate parts of the crystals.
I would say my biggest issue with snowflakes is my symmetry. Because snowflakes have symmetry.
Most of the time.
Well, like, they have symmetry, they're just not all shaped like this.
Mm-hmm. No. Some of them misform and you get wonky ones. But,
I just watched a whole program on snowflakes.
Yeah?
With the top snowflake researcher. It's just that there's 150 types of snowflakes, but they are symmetrical.
Ooh.
Sometimes they're cylinders. So they have a bunch of weird other shapes that they do, apparently.
Mm-hmm.
Which I did not know about. And one guy, he's an expert. He has like 75 shapes. And then there's a Japanese researcher that he's got 150.
That does not surprise me.
It did not surprise me either.
They do seem to have a unique relationship with water.
Yes. Yeah, it happens when you're surrounded by it.
Yes. Island Nation.
Island Nation. All right. So I'm going to come here and make I think I'm going to add a little dot this time for balance. I like it.
Dot. That makes it the mid-century-ish. The dot.
I felt so. It had to go there. And while I'm at it, I'm going to take a little bit of my white. I'm going to come to the top of this ribbon.
Ooh.
And I'm going to make some just very kind of little delicate lines where the ribbon would be bent and be in the brightest part of its little light.
Oh, it makes a little highlight.
Make a little highlight on the ribbon. I'm going to make one right here too.
Mm-hmm.
A little bit of curve to them and they might taper. All right, see that? A little bit of curve and they might taper. I'm going to add some of them here. Now that's how we get the shiny. And then I'm going to come, because this should be dry now. Just a little bit right there. Or it might have caught it. Guys, I might kind of trim in some of his little nostrils got a little bit strong. I'll trim that back in. Look at him, he's so cute now. He's just like perfect. Cute. So when I have him all done, and if I'm super happy with him, then I get to sign him, and I'm going to go ahead and sign in white. What did you guys think?
I think this is fun. It's
fantastic, right?
Fabulous. I don't know how to make fur puns.
This is coming tomorrow for the vintage ornaments. They're going to be 2 hoot as well. I've got a for sure 1 hoot coming on Thursday, and if I get the work done, I might have a course on snowy pines on Tuesday if I get it done. If I don't get it done, I don't know when it may still happen, just like on a different Tuesday. But I thought you guys could use how to paint snowy trees with different brushes and the different kind of like shapes of basic snow pines, just in case you were landscaping. And also how to paint the falling snow on them.
I know why I've run out of puns.
Why?
My coffee tank is empty.
I know, my coffee tank is also empty.
That's all that's happened. Sorry.
That's why your course finished first. Your course finished
wow.
How cute is this?
This is a super cute kitty.
Cannot wait to see your kitties. So
that's what I love. I love scrolling through their little Facebook feed and seeing all of these. It's super happy making. It's
just very good. So you can share with me on Instagram, # the Art Sherpa. You can share with me on Pinterest. I'm on there. You can share with me on Twitter. I actually see everything on Twitter. So if you're on Twitter and you really want me to see it, you can go by and follow me on Twitter and share there. You can share with me on Facebook in the Facebook group, and that's a closed group that we curate. So that's like a safe place. So if you're giving something as a gift and you want to share the finished painting, but you don't want the person you're giving it to know, as long as they're not in the group, you can share it there. You can also share it in the comments on the web page for this video on the website, because there's a way to upload pictures.
Are you for real?
I'm for real. If you make a TikTok, please tag me in. If you make a TikTok with any of my art, I love TikTok. I'm so obsessed. I know I'm super too old to be on TikTok, but I don't care because it's funny. And I also know it's like maybe possibly evil, but it's also funny.
Again,
so if you're there already, just tag me in, huh?
Somebody just gave us the keys to a broadcast studio and said, "Good luck, kids," and we just turned it all on. So we're unsupervised with a broadcaster.
Once again, largely unsupervised with a broadcaster. So if you're joining us on Discord, I think there's a way to share pictures and everything there.
Uh-huh.
And we're going to try to figure out how to have these streams over there. So that's just for like if I know many people, we've had a lot of people just quit Facebook because they're very frustrated, which I understand and support and totally. I'm there because, we're over there, but I get it. And so that's another place. And I think we're going to start up the Twitch. If you know a lot about Twitch or you run a Twitch channel or you've moderated a lot of Twitch and you would like to volunteer to help us with Twitch, write support@theartsherpa.com. We need some volunteers to help us with Discord and with Twitch.
Tomorrow after the show, we're going to have a little Discord info.
Yeah. Yeah. But if you're good at those and you're good at running those social medias and communities and stuff, like support@theartsherpa.com, because I'm a little tired and overwhelmed. I want to expand and do all the things, but I might need some help. So if that's your skill set,
that's it.
And or if just also come by and follow and like and watch and stuff like that, because we got to figure out how to do all the things.
All the things.
All the things.
None of which am I knowing what they are.
Me either. But more vintage.
That's true.
Holiday.
Tomorrow.
We'll continue. 2 hoot tomorrow, 1 hoot on Thursday. Here's your job. Be good to yourself. Be good to each other. And I want to see you at an easel really soon. Bye-bye.